what advice would you give first year Rice parents to Michael and Deanna?
Oh, I can say, I thought of two things. One is trust Rice. They make very good decisions. They are offering very good things, experiences, schooling. So trust them, because you do have to, as Michael said, I hate to agree with him, but you do have to let go during this period quite a bit. You're letting go quite a bit. So trust Rice. And the other thing, which is a little bit opposite, is trust your student, trust your child, because this is a time for them to learn and be in charge of themselves, and they're going to do good things too.
I do agree with you, Deanna, so there you go. But also, I would say one thing that we were fortunate to think to do is we met Matt's roommates' parents, the Fagbongbis, and they were fantastic. And we did it on our own. And I think just a conversation by Zoom, in fact, we did one with them. Matt and Laddie is his roommate from last year. They're roommates again this year. And so the Fagbongbis and we had a Zoom just the other day, just as we kind of get oriented there. And I think it's a nice connection to make. It gives you another person to call just to check in and new. That was a good one.
All of you have, in passing, talked about staying connected with your students or your friends from where you came from. And I'm just curious, how do you guys suggest, what's the best way to stay connected to the people you love who aren't at Rice?
Yeah, so I think, so for one, this is definitely a place where I think I could have improved last year. I think my parents and I stayed reasonably in touch, but not as much as we could have. And so I think it kind of comes down to two things. One is you can find certain points of connection that will, I guess, cause you to have something in common and talk about. So I remember towards the end of my first semester, my family and I were watching a TV show together, and so we could talk about that. This semester we were thinking of doing like a movie every week, and kind of watching those on the same day, and then we could talk about that. I think the other thing though, which is actually more important, is it really just comes down to being deliberate and being motivated to do it. You've got to care enough to put in the effort, because it is an effort. You're going to be busy. You're going to have a lot of distractions, a lot of fun things to do, a lot of work to do. And so you really have to say, okay, this is something I care about, and so I'm going to schedule this, or I'm going to make a deliberate push to communicate with my family. And I think that's the most important thing, but also the hardest.
One thing I'll say is, you're going off, you probably have a network of high school friends that you have. Those people will, I'm 29, those people are still important to me in my life, but like, I remember going through freshman year at Rice, just getting so immersed in the Rice community that like, I kind of forgot about some of my friends from high school and reconnected the next summer. Just stay in touch with your friends, however you do it.
What has been your most memorable moment while at Rice or while having a student at Rice?
I did study abroad for a semester, which isn't exactly at Rice, but Rice enabled me to study for a semester in Ecuador, and that really gave me more of a worldview when I went. Living in a house where it was just a latrine, and I'm dating myself, but I took 10 audio cassettes with me, and they thought that was so many, so I didn't mention the 100 I had back at home. So it just kind of gave me a perspective on realizing, how lucky I was, and that if I can live in a house with a latrine, I can do just about anything. So it really empowered me and gave me more of a perspective on the whole world. I went in 1990, and I still don't call us Americans, because really I think of everyone in North and South America as being Americans, so I'd say we're from the US. So that was probably the experience that shaped me the most during my Rice years.
From our perspective as a parent, I was very impressed how friendly people are at Rice Community and how close-knit community that is. As you are dropping off your freshman in a college and going away from that experience is very difficult as a parent, but knowing that she'll be well taken care of and feeling comfortable to leave her in Houston by herself and then walking away from it. I think that was the most memorable moment that I had.
What advice would you give your freshman self?
If I can jump in there, I would say don't be afraid to embrace some hard work. I mean, I think we all have, but what I'm really talking about is, I mean, if you're going to Rice, I imagine pretty much everyone in this chat room was either at or pretty near the top of their class at school, and probably there are the number of courses that really challenge you in high school are probably a lot less than the number of courses that were easy. That's really about to change. All your courses are going to challenge you. You're going to find out that you're somewhere you're not an A student, and remember, that's fine. I mean, if you engage, I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help from upperclassmen, from the professors, from TAs, to really slug it out. Don't be afraid to really work through and not be the top person in the class. You're still going to learn a lot, and don't worry about the GPA. It's going to take care of itself. Really embrace those challenges that you probably didn't have in high school. I'll just give an example of why this is a good idea. So both my sweet mate and I took Japanese class. It was hard for me. I will admit, I kind of dropped it. Well, excuse me, I dropped it pretty much because it was that hard. I went on and I've lived in Japan twice. It would have come in really handy if I had hung with it. So embrace the difficult courses, and if it's something you want to learn, stay with it.
I can add maybe, I was thinking of some C words. I was thinking about curiosity and creativity. You know, I heard a professor who taught Chinese history give a talk. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It has nothing to do with my major, but I'm gonna take this class pass fail. You know, you'll have your requirements, and then you have a lot of freedom and electives you can take. You know, follow, you know, what interests you, and you know, you'll get a lot more out of it. And you are allowed some pass fail classes. So, you know, it doesn't have to sap you from, you know, your focus in your major. So, you know, follow what interests you.
How has the Rice community impacted you?
The amount of interaction that I've had has typically been during the context of homecoming. So that's really when you in the past few years, homecoming has really been like the biggest opportunity for me to get to know people that are connected with Rice but don't normally come to campus all that often, especially with alumni, former RAs at various residential colleges, former magisters, basically the headmasters of each residential college. They will come back for these sorts of events. So that's really a great chance to really see just how big and how well connected the Rice community really is, and just how important campus life actually is to those who have graduated or moved on from on-campus life, but they still feel a link to their days back on campus, if you will. So I've really gotten a chance to that's been a really valuable time. I've gotten to know some of my friends and other upperclassmen's parents, who honestly have been some of the best people that I've met outside of campus ever, honestly. I've also had the chance to meet professors who have long since retired or moved on, and they've told great stories not only about Rice, but also about their lives, as well as just personal advice. So that's been the best part of the Rice community, in my opinion, is just that opportunity to connect with your older, wiser owls.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there, Victor. I mean, the Rice community has kind of interlaced throughout my life after Rice, particularly as I kind of pivoted out of the Navy and into a different phase of life. The Rice community has been instrumental to that. I think you'll find that, I mean, Rice students and alumni are generally this amazing combination of, on the one hand, remarkable intelligence, skilled expertise, and just industriousness, and you balance that with a sense of humility that it is really, I'm not sure if it's unique, but it certainly, you don't run into a lot of places like that these days. I'm really, really fortunate to call myself part of this community of scholars. I think as I kind of shifted jobs and had to do a little hunting, I've reached back out to the Rice Network, incredibly supportive. Everyone gave me time. Everyone tried to do all they can. Everyone offered their perspective and assistance as much as they could. And I'm just really happy that now I'm in a position to try to return the favor. And I think that's why, that's part of the reason why I'm here on offering you 2 hours on Saturday, because I've received so much and I'm happy to give back.
Thank you, Derek. Rob and Stacey, from a parent perspective, how has the Rice community affected you or impacted you?
Okay, first of all, I got into the Facebook page, which has been tremendous help for us to get a lot of our answers, a lot of our questions answered, especially before I send her off to school. You know, as a freshman, you have a lot of questions, unknowns, and anxieties. And there were tons of parents who are willing to step up and help you. And especially for those parents who are living in Texas area, they are always there for you. They're willing to take the kids somewhere. They're willing to take birthday cakes to them if it's necessary. And I find it is very welcoming and very kind and friendly, which puts us at ease to have our daughter, you know, like 2 hours away by airplane. And also, what else?
Well, in terms of community, if everyone can look at Derek's background, that's the Shepherd School in his background. That's where Sanne, our daughter, is taking most of her classes right now, right? Well, most of her classes there in the Shepherd School. They've reached out to us as parents and had us get involved in different initiatives. They've asked us to be part of I don't remember what it's called, but basically a parents sort of steering group and that sort of thing, and ask for our input. So it really makes us feel involved. It's not just us sending our daughter off to school and saying good luck to you, but we feel like we are really part of a community. They've pulled us in as well, and we're looking forward to a number of her concerts here in the future.
Maybe this is a question for current students most relevantly, but what are the 3 most important things to do in the first 48 hours? So whether it's in person this semester or virtually this semester, we're even more than ever more important to make some connections and get started, I think. So what would you tailor into that first couple of days of starting the fall semester? If any of our current students want to take that one, maybe.
Sure, I could say in terms of academics, just start looking at what books you need, what supplies you might need, and order those. I always do like the Amazon rentals. And then also maybe just kind of finding people in your class that you might know. So maybe start making, you know, some group chats so y'all can do kind of homework together or ask questions. Do you have any? Yeah, does that sound good? Yeah.
I think if you're on campus, definitely unpack before kind of everything gets hectic with a week, because once a week starts, it's really hard, and I ended up not unpacking for a lot of the year. That's partially because I'm very unorganized, but definitely get yourself organized and set up. And even if you're doing kind of classes in a week virtually, get yourself set up, get yourself organized, and really start reaching out to people. There are so many peer resources at Rice, and they are great resources. So definitely reach out to them if you have any questions at all.
Okay, so for Jennifer and for Gloria, how about on the flip side? How are you mentally and emotionally prepping yourselves to make this transition? Do you have any advice there?
My advice would be you're going to be surrounded by a lot of people that are from way beyond what has been your bubble so far. You know, you've probably been a relatively big fish in your own high school, but now you're surrounded by lots of other big fish in a much, much bigger pond. And don't be intimidated by it. Know that you're surrounded by incredibly bright, articulate, interesting people. Start out by meeting them. Make it a point that your encounters with people, whether it's on campus or off, whether it's virtual or not, include some time to try and get to know each other, and take the time and build the opportunities to be able to make some more friends and to really deepen some of the relationships that are going to serve you very well, not just for the next 4 years, but after Rice. And I would say for those of you who are on campus, take a little bit of time, if you have a moment, to just literally walk around the campus and just get familiar with all of it, so that you just have a sense of your new world. And, you know, if you're there if you're living on campus or if you're in Houston, you know, take someone with you, use it as an opportunity to get to know someone and walk around and talk about things and get to know your new environment. But mostly just embrace it with a very open mind. Your mind is going to be stretched. You're going to be meeting lots of folks with different backgrounds. Just be interested, because you're going to learn an enormous amount from them.
Awesome. I love that.
Would say I agree. I mean, I think, Gloria, you're exactly right. And in hearing, you know, your experiences and your son's experiences, and certainly what Bailey went through. And I would say that one way to think about Rice as being a unique school is that it does have residential colleges, which a lot of schools, you know, don't have. And I think the fact that you can start freshman year right on day one, thinking of it not just as a residential college, but as your new family. This is your family. These are the people you go to, the peers that Bailey was talking about. Are the people who will be helping advise you day to day and are wonderful resources. So really embrace your residential college, in addition to expanding beyond that, like Gloria mentioned.
That's wonderful. I love the way Gloria put that, the sense of your new world. That's so perfect. And I think for Andrew and David, our alumni who are with us as well, you have the equal benefit of hindsight, right? So looking back, what would you have maybe done differently as an incoming first year? Is something that you may have changed looking back?
So I think a couple things. One, and obviously this fall is maybe a little bit different, obviously, given everything that's going on with the pandemic, but I think I would have spent more time exploring Houston earlier in my time at Rice. I feel like I didn't really get kind of beyond the hedges much until probably my junior year. And Houston is such an interesting and dynamic city, and with so much happening culturally, and food's amazing, and there's just so much to see and do. And so I think I would have spent more time in Houston. So that's just one thing about just kind of where Rice is. And then maybe an academic thing is, I think I would have taken, or should have taken, more advantage of professors' office hours. I think I sort of thought about office hours as just something, if I really needed help or if I felt behind, that's an opportunity to engage with the professor. But I think the opportunity, or the sort of thinking about that time and that opportunity as a way to continue your learning in some ways, sort of a smaller group, even if that means one-on-one. And if you're interested in a topic, having a conversation with a professor about it, that's just a unique opportunity that you won't get after your 4 years or however long you'll be in Houston. And just, I would encourage you to take advantage of that. And that's something I definitely wish I would have taken advantage of as well. Let me add one other quick thing just to your previous question about what to do in the first 48 hours. I crowdsourced a couple of thoughts from some of my friends who also went to Rice, and they also recommended one other thing that nobody's mentioned yet, and that is learn how to do laundry. So that might be something to just add to your list in the first 48 hours.
Should probably be number one.
So I will actually echo what David said specifically about your professors, right? I think that they are an under-tapped resource at Rice that you, as coming to Rice, we've got a really low kind of student to teacher ratio, student to professor ratio, And that's one thing that I didn't do as good of an opportunity of just like reaching out to professors for office hours when I was struggling, right? There are peer groups that will help you as well. And I think that, you know, and now we have, as an alum, you'll hear about professors that are doing amazing research about different topics. Yesterday in particular, there was a really great one about with the religious studies professor. It was just phenomenal. And I wish I had taken classes outside of computer science and economics. You know, I went down the traditional path and just kind of focused in on that. So taking it outside and then reaching out to professors, and even knowing that other students, you know, are there to kind of help you, right? It's not this kind of, there are probably a few gunners, but everybody's trying to just help each other. You'll meet some of the smartest people that you know that you would never realize because they never study. They're just that brilliant, but we can't compare ourselves to them. You know, everybody's a bit different. So that's kind of what I would say is just reach out to your professors, connect with other students. Everybody's really there to help each other.
Looking back, would you, Ellen or Rahul, change anything about your first year? Is there anything that you wish you had done or perhaps not done?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. I think if there were anything that I wish I had done was to kind of remind myself to be more open to ideas, discoveries, people, you know, all of the above. I think I came in like very set in my own ways and my own perception of the world, and had a very kind of strong mentality around how I thought the world was supposed to be around me. And it was a little bit eye-opening when I left away, you know, from home and was not with the same people that I had grown up with from kindergarten through, you know, high school, and came to Rice and met people from all over the world, from all walks of life, interested in all sorts of things, speaking different languages and activities and interests and studies. And you know, as soon as I kind of like opened up to like absorbing all of these perspectives and learning from them and celebrating them and you know, participating in them, it was a lot more fun. And I don't know, I just felt a lot happier and not trying to like carve the world out around from me the way that I thought it should be, but rather just move my way through what is there.
Yeah, I would echo that, and I would also say for myself, I wish I had been more patient with myself. It's going to be a crazy year. It's always going to be, but this year in particular, and don't know really what's going to happen or how you'll react, and just to have patience with yourself, and if it is emotional, if it does get really hard or stressful, to allow yourself the space to feel that way and not get down on yourself. That's what I would remind myself as a freshman.
And lean on the resources that you have around you, right? Whether it's the Student Health Center and the mental health advisors and professionals there, whether it's your friends, your OWEEK advisors, your family. Don't try and go at it alone and rely on the other people, because I guarantee you they're going through their own set of things, and a lot of those things are going to have, you know, some kind of overlap that you can relate to with those people. So, you know, I'll add on to what Ellen said with that patience and say, you know, rely on the people around you.
Absolutely. Eric and Anca, do you have anything to add from a parent perspective in terms of, I mean, you've offered very wise advice so far, but did you start out that way, or did you have to get to that point yourself?
I can tell you that we've been very impressed with the resources. I know that Rice offers, they offer counselors if you have mental health problems or any issues coming up. If you have any questions that you need to seek just regular guidance about, they've got sort of wellness counselors that you can meet with that are like, I guess, therapists. They've also got academic advisors. You've got your college, and you can always contact the president of the college if there are any problems. They're very responsive. They're like your first line. So, you know, let's say you're worried that your child is coming in and may get anxious or depressed or something like that. the first line is going to be that president of that college or their advisor, and they'll keep the information going. And you just need to make sure that you have a set up a relationship with your child where they understand that if there are problems that you can get involved. I would tell you a very helpful piece of advice that I got from, I think it was from the Rice Parents and Families group on Facebook when we first joined, that I recommend everybody does, is work with your child to make sure that you get signed permission to access and work with them on their finances at Rice so that you can go in and pay directly, and also that you set something up, a mental health power of attorney and a physical power of attorney. So if they're ill and there are issues, they have to go to hospital, you have the right to talk to their doctors. They're above 18, and under the law, therefore you're not able to get the access to those records unless you set it up with. So that's something that I found to be very comforting. It's knowing that you can, if you can set this up and establish it, you will at least know that they're not by themselves there. And if there's a problem, they break their leg and have to go to a hospital, you need to get a doctor, you can call, find out what's going on, and help out with that.
Can open up the floor for maybe 1 or 2 minutes just to ask if anybody has a quick final piece of advice, or from the parents' perspective or students as they're doing their final prep in the next couple of weeks, some final nugget to share.
Yeah, I think just in general, in light of what's going on in the world right now, I think I would say be optimistic. Rice, this semester is going to be a little bit weird, a little bit strange, certainly for those of us who have already been at Rice, but even more so for those who have not. You've got coronavirus and you're new to college, so that's a double whammy. But be optimistic and know that Rice is incredibly resilient as a community and as a group of people. And we will come out the other side, and you guys will all have a great experience, regardless of what struggles this semester may bring about.
Thanks, Matt. I just say one thing for incoming students and the parents as well. I work at the Walt Disney Company. I've been spending the last 6 months thinking about how you manage large-scale operations in a COVID dynamic. And let me tell you, Rice has its act together. It is very thorough, very well thought out. They are really on top of it. And so there's always a little bit of hey, we're going into something new here, but rest assured this organization has its act completely together on that. And that's reassuring. And so you guys are gonna have a fantastic time because it's college. Oh my God. So have a great time with it.